I'm going to show you how you can make a custom intake for your ride with the minimal amount of tools and for fairly inexpensive. If I can do this, I know you can do it. Let's go. Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, I'm Matt. I'm currently working on turbocharging my 1.8 liter Chevy Cruze. And you might be like, it's a waste of time. Probably, but the point is there's not a lot of aftermarket parts for this car, and an intake is no exception to that. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to kind of walk you through how I'm going to make a custom intake manifold. So let's get after it. All right, so we're going to dive into the computer here. I've taken all my measurements and I've kind of roughed in some plans. I'm not the best at doing this kind of stuff, but here are the plans that I did draw up in the computer. I use Adobe Illustrator. You could do this with pencil and paper, to be honest, but I just so happen to be a graphic designer by trade, and I drew up my plans the best I could with what measurements I've taken. And so I put together these plans. I did the flange, in which here's the flange. I'm not going to show the measurements just because I did put in a lot of time doing this, and do your own homework. Don't copy off of me. Now, I don't know. I might end up selling these on the market in the future. It just all depends on what's going on with the EPA. So here's the main flange here, which will bolt up to the head, in which you'll see here in a moment why I decided to actually go in and make these oval. And the reason being is that the cylinder head really is just kind of an oval into the combustion chamber and an oval out the exhaust, in which if you guys saw during the making of the exhaust manifold for the turbo, you know, it's the same thing, in which I had to take a round tube, smash that down in order to fit or closely fit the exhaust ports. So here's the intake flange. And I purchased a LSJ throttle body because it doesn't have all that coolant crap going through it like the stock one does. Just makes things a little simpler. Plus I found a pretty good deal on it on eBay from ZZP. I appreciate it, guys. Which it came off of a crate motor. And in this case, you're seeing the actual measurements, all the things I had to do, the measurements I had to take. And then last but not least, here is the base of the plenum, because I'm wanting this thing to actually have somewhat of a bell mouth going into those oval runners. And let me show you where I got the runners from. And I'm waiting on those to come in. So I've purchased some things from these guys in the past. It's called Ross Machine Racing. I actually found them through eBay. I was like, man, they basically have everything you need to make a custom intake without going to the extent in which I'm going to. But I'm wanting this to be a little nicer, something that, you know, I'm not just using off-the-shelf parts, which there's nothing wrong with that. However, I want it to be a little more custom, you know what I mean? So if we go to intake manifold parts, you'll see that they have an extruded oval runner. I ended up getting 3 feet of that, so it was about 45 bucks just for that. Not terribly expensive. And this is where I got the idea to make the plenum kind of have a bell mouth. And also I found a really great book online for free. I'll drop that down. I'll leave a link in the description to everything and all the services that I used here in order to get this custom intake manifold going. And the book that I found is called Maximum Boost by Corky Bell. You can find it online for free, or you can purchase the book from Amazon, however you want to do it. But there's a lot of great information in here. Even though it is a little bit older of a book, the only thing that's kind of outdated here is just really the technology for tuning EFI. That's the only thing, but there's a lot of great theories and engineering and just explanations of how all this stuff works. From your intake manifold to your exhaust, how those things should be designed, how turbocharging actually works, and along with an engine. That's the best way I can explain it, really. I know
I know what I'm doing here to an extent, but man, there's a lot of great information here that you can just soak in. So be sure to check that out. So what I did is I took these 3 designs and I sent them over to a guy at Fiverr because I was looking for some quotes to do some CNC machine work, and they told me I needed a step file. I'm like, okay. And one of those places I reached out to was Racer X, because I was hoping that we could do some sort of collaboration with the 1.8 and have them machine it here in the States, and perhaps have, you know, the MC2 if you guys have been following the channel. But I took a look at what they were doing here and I was like, man, that's pretty clever. That's something I feel like I could replicate, and it doesn't look like it's too difficult to build. The hardest part is just taking all those measurements, and has been finding a company that had some reasonable pricing where I can actually afford it. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about supporting my American workers. However, man, some of the quotes I got back were just absurd. Almost $3,000 to machine these 3 parts, and that, to be honest, almost kind of killed this project. But I did find some people overseas, and which I'll show you here in a second, that did it for a really reasonable price. And then lastly, one of the things I did do is I just kind of brought in an image of their intake, which they've done some testing and all that stuff, and it seems to work really well for the 1.4. And I just kind of traced this shape off, really. I mean, I traced it off and kind of made my own version of it and uploaded it to a site called Sin. I reached out on Facebook. I was like, hey, do you know anyone that can do CNC machining at a reasonable price? Even though Sin doesn't do CNC machining, they do, I guess, laser cutting or water jet cutting. I believe it's laser cutting. So I went over to Sin, and so this is the design that I sent over, and we're gonna wait on that to come in. We'll see how that turns out. Wasn't terribly expensive. It was like maybe 75 bucks. You know, I'm sure I could have just gotten a piece of 1/8 inch aluminum and just cut it out myself with a cutting wheel and all that, but this just makes it more precise, and I'm spending less time. My time is more valuable working rather than going out there with a sheet of aluminum and just cutting it up and hoping for the best. So, and circling back around to doing all the CNC machine work, converting it to a step file, it isn't something I can do. I don't have the software, nor do I have the knowledge of how all that works. So I went to Fiverr. This is in no way, none of these are sponsored. This is just me saying, hey, this is how I'm going about doing it. Reached out to a guy, sent him my designs, and he was like, yeah, I can do it for 40 for this one piece. And I just kind of wanted to see how that would go along. There was a lot of back and forth questions and all that stuff, and then he would rough it up and send images back to me, and I'm like, yeah, looks good, or change this and that. I mean, there's a couple things where he did snooze on a part here. There should have been this seat cut, but I snoozed on it as well, just because I was pretty excited about how all of it's coming out. But we'll see how the results come out with that machined in it. And we went back and forth a little bit, and this is what he had come up with. I'm getting pretty excited about it, and we're just going at it, going back and forth. And at this point, he's just kind of asking about measurements and all that stuff, making sure we got it right, hoping that there's no loss in translation as far as what I'm needing and what the measurements need to be. And hopefully I did my homework right, and hopefully there's nothing lost in translation, which if there is, we can always massage the thing a little bit. And at this point, after doing all this work, he told me, he's like, yeah, I'll do this for 60 because this is a little more involved than he thought it would be. And so we were kind of wrapping this project up, and I was like, hey man, you did a pretty good job. So now I want to do the intake or the throttle body flange and the base of the plenum. And so he started, there goes the measurements. If you want to pause it and rip it off, I don't care. Again, do your own homework. But we started going along, and there for a while I was kind of, in order to communicate with him, I was using this program called Sketchup, in which my trial is over, so I can't really show you the files that I did. Never used SketchUp before, and so I kind of had to teach myself and watch a lot of tutorials on how to do this stuff. And these are screenshots I sent over to him, what I'm looking for. And this is a little cutout that I had actually sent to him. So I was like, man, I'm feeling pretty good about, I learned a little bit of 3D designing, or whatever you want to call it, 3D modeling. And then here is the flange itself for the throttle body. I was like, okay, man, all this stuff looks cool. And he sent the files over to me. And then I sent it over to this company for a pretty good price. They charged me $380 to do all this stuff. And I think it was called CNC Rapid. Yeah, CNC Rapid. Sent it over to them. They got a quote over within the next day. They are overseas, but man, for doing something one-off, I mean, if it doesn't go anywhere aside from just doing this one-off, it's been fun just doing this stuff, taking all these measurements, learning a new skill, and seeing how things come out. And I'm still waiting on everything to come in. So that's basically how I went about designing this stuff. I can't wait for the parts to come in. We'll see how they turn out, and I'll check back with you guys.
What? Look what came in. Dude, that was pretty quick. I'm excited to open this. Let's go ahead and open it up. Wow, look at that. Made in America. I feel like this has been an international project because I designed the thing, sent it over to a guy that's in India to do the step file. They're making the CNC parts in China, and the plenum's cut here in America. Huh. Anyhow, let's crack this open. Come on, damn it. Yeah, dude. Come on. Dang. What? They vacuum seal it to a board and everything? Dude, that's pretty dope. This is by no means... What? That should get it. Oh, very nice. Man, that looks pretty dope. So this is 1/8 of an inch thick. I don't know if you can see that, but this is going to be pretty stout, and it's still white. Man, I don't think I'm going to open this up just yet because I have some more plans for this. I have a buddy that has a laser etcher, and I'm thinking I might want to put that little MC2 logo I've kind of been rolling with for a little bit onto that part. Let's see what else they got. Got the invoice. So I mean, that's all I paid for it. Includes free shipping and all that. It's a little pricey, but dude, I get where the money's going. Woo, it is hot. All right, so we have the plenum in. Now we just gotta be patient and wait for the CNC machine parts. It's cool seeing your creations come to life. So all we can do is wait, which we've done a lot of that with this project. Holy crap, that came in fast. So the custom CNC parts are already in. Dang. Wonder what poor Chinese child they had working around the clock to get this out so damn fast, because that's insane. I submitted it Monday, a week ago. DHL showed up early today and dropped this off. So I've been itching to open this thing up. Let's take a look at it, shall we? Wow! If only the machine shop could get shit done this fast. Jeez. My engine would have been done a year ago. Nicely packaged. It's a beat up box with bubble wrap, but whatever. I don't care. Man, they got these things in so fast. Oh, it's like Christmas. Oh, and I just so happened to open up. Holy crap. Look at that. Man, they did a nice job. This is the flange that mates up to the head, holds the injectors. Of course, it starts raining outside. You know, it's pretty awesome seeing something you work hard on come to life. That's amazing. These parts are so lightweight too. Of course, because it's aluminum. And then last but not least, Man, that is smooth. I mean, it looks like they sanded it a little bit or something to kind of give it some sort of finish, I guess. Just because it feels nice. Man, that's insane. I think I'm gonna take a moment and just stare at these for a little bit. Man, I'm telling you, it's like Christmas around here today. Here is one of the last parts that have come in from Ross Machine Racing, but let's check out what's in this box here. I feel like I'm pulling out a Red Ryder BB gun. Get out of there. Anyways, so this is an extruded aluminum intake runner, which I decided to go this route because I wasn't really a fan of taking a round hole, tossing it into a press, and then squeezing it down to the oval shape of the ports, because I mean they're practically oval. So this guy should, if I did everything correctly, what? Oh man, all that measuring paid off. Look at that. Man, initially I had this designed into this here, which I might have to grind that back a little bit, definitely, which isn't a big deal. We'll just massage that back a little bit. Like I was saying, I initially had these pockets here originally designed into here, and it just kind of went over the top of my head. And however, we'll make this work. It's something I'll have to revise in the design. Dude, I'm just happy that this fits. All right, that'll make things a lot easier. Now, obviously, if I had these same pockets in here, then it would just make things easier to assemble. What are the other pieces that is kind of stuck on the other side? They have this just kind of capped off on both ends. The other is stuck in there, but this is for a custom fuel mount, right? This is for a custom fuel rail, in which I got a fuel rail from them as well, in which we'll cover that in a future episode. Yeah. So it looks like I have everything I need to build this manifold, aside from something that can weld aluminum. But I have a buddy that has a AC welder, and we'll see if he's up for let me borrow that for an afternoon to weld this stuff up. But let's take these two parts here and see if I did my homework correctly. Everything lines up. Fingers crossed that it does. If not, we can always massage it a little bit, right? Excuse me while I move my taco sauce out of the way. So one of the things I did do with this was I wanted it to work with the OEM gaskets. And let's see if I did my homework correctly. Oh, yes. Yeah. Dude, Apollo, you mind not kicking the camera stand? Yeah, that will work. I think I might have to readjust that. Went a little deep with the, a little deeper than I'd like as far as how far these seats are cut. So that might be something I'll have to revise, but all that works just fine. Let's take a look-ski. Very nice, there we go. Looks dope. Seal up. Now let's check out this throttle body flange. Yep, fell right down in there. Perfect. This one, I think the measurements were a little more spot on, because we got a little bit of even more of a lip. This is kind of how I wanted it, but that will still seal up fine. Now the big thing is whether or not our throttle body will actually fit this thing. Let's see if anything changed from there. Let's see if this thing visually lines up. Oh shit, I'm not gonna be able to tell that one. So I got this little notch right here, so that way this part of the throttle body will seat right down. Looks like I did my homework properly. And, oh, not a big deal, but I'm gonna have to grind a little bit off here. So I need to, in the future design, if I decide to sell these I'll definitely need to extend this further out because running into it right there, but we'll just kind of visually line things up. Yeah, that's pretty dang close if you ask me. I think one of these are slightly off, in which it's not a big deal because I can always bore this out a little more. Make it work, make it happen. Yeah, not bad. I mean, these holes need a little bit of adjustment. All right, all in all, not too bad. And look at that, boys and girls. Man, dude, that is going to be such a smooth transition. It's not even funny. All right. Last but certainly not least, let's see if these, all right. Not the end of the world because there's a tool I'm going to need for the fuel rail to drill these holes out. I'm not completely thrilled about spending 120 bucks on a drill bit, but man, that is looking dope. Might have to widen all that. Anyway, so Ross Machine Racing sells a drill bit that drills out for 11 millimeter. Also does the seat for the injector and then kind of rounds things off. So I'm gonna have to get one of those anyways. Not a big deal because I can chuck this up into a press and then just put this thing at an angle, open her up. And of course, the next biggest thing is whether or not this flange will bolt up to the cylinder head. So let's go ahead and check that out. Hopefully we did this right. All right, fingers crossed. Let's see how this works out. So far, so good. Well, either I was wrong on my measurements or there was some sort of measurements lost in translation with the fiber guy over in India. But what we're dealing with here is this hole is slightly off. It just needs to go that way a little bit. So what I'll have to do is just enlarge in that. Same thing here. I was really trying to keep the runner away from these bolt holes and the bolt head itself, so that way we got a little bit of room to weld. So we're gonna have to modify this just a little bit, nothing too crazy. And you can see where I was off just a little bit here. So what I'll do is I'll just massage the cylinder head a little bit. We've already poured this thing, but we'll just open it just a little bit more to kind of smooth that flow. We got a little bit of a gap back here. This one's not too bad. It's got a little bit of a lip there, which, I mean, honestly, with the air flowing in, if you're standing in a hallway, let's say at an apartment complex, and the wind goes down the aisle, you know, the wind really doesn't affect you. Same thing here, if that makes any damn sense. But I'm still going to massage this just a little bit and port match these things, essentially. But all in all, not too bad. This is aluminum, so it'll be easy to shape. So we have some more work to do to this flange, and I need to go back and revise this design. No big deal. So that's gonna be it for this episode. We've got our flange in, we've got our runners, we have our plenum, we've got our plenum flange and the jello pudding pops. So that's awesome. Man, they've turned out great. I was a little off on a couple of measurements, but not a big deal. Be sure to catch part 2 as I port match and massage this flange. And we'll have to borrow a welder from a buddy because the TIG welder that I do have is not AC, but that's not a big deal. The main thing is I need to get the engine into the car, in which it will be ready this week. Well, it'll come out of the machine shop, so keep an eye out for that as well. Don't forget to like, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of how this thing's turning out so far, and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, peace out with your peace out.